Here are 5 ways weight loss advice fails menopausal women, especially if you're petite like I am. The first and biggest problem with standard weight loss advice is it tends to be a one-size-fits-all approach. It doesn't take into account anything that really matters, like how tall you are or your age. For example, if you're a short woman like I am, especially as you get closer to your goal, you have to be so darn precise because our calories are just so low to begin with. And most of us don't even realize it because we've been following the same old standard advice from back in our 20s, 30s, and 40s. And then we wonder why we're not losing any weight. And on top of that, if we stray away from our plan too much or too often, we can easily cancel out any weight loss progress we've made. For example, if I have 1 or 2 meals where I eat out on the weekend with my family, my weight will pretty much go up a pound each meal. So I have to ask myself every time, how much weight do you want to gain? 1, 2, 3 pounds? And that's how I determine how many high-calorie meals I'm going to allow myself to have. If I just want to maintain that week, I can raise my calories slightly during the week by adding in a little bit more fat. If I want to lose weight, I have to stay on what's called the army diet, or my version of it. And that is the strictest form of my plan that guarantees I will lose weight every single time. For me, that looks like 1 cup of egg whites and a 1/4 cup of shredded cheese for breakfast and dinner, and for lunch, a chicken thigh with the skin and a medium-sized bowl of broccoli. Not most people's typical meals, but they work for me. I'll also have a few cups of my skinny hot chocolate throughout the day, which is typically around 10 calories per cup. When I'm on the army diet, I can lose between 0.3 to 0.5 pounds per day. So it's not that fat loss isn't possible at our height, it just takes more intense commitment and focus. Now, the second problem is an extension of what we just talked about, and that is generic calorie advice across the board. We've been hearing for years that we cannot go below 1,200 calories and that the starting point is between 1,200 and 1,500 calories. Sure, if you're my tall friend, that might work. They have more bone, muscle, organs, everything that requires quite a bit more sustenance than we do. But did you know that my maintenance calories alone are slightly over 1,200? My maintenance calories, which means if I want to lose weight, I have to shave off even more. And since my metabolism is slower, in order to see the scale move, I actually have to go lower. And so these standard calorie counts have become so status quo that if I just talk about my specific calorie counts in a video, what I actually eat, YouTube might actually take my video down. But the truth is, that's the truth. That's what I have to do to lose weight at 5'2" and 51 years old. So if you want to lose weight but have a smaller frame, you may have to play with your numbers like I did and go outside the status quo. I started at 1,200 and then I went lower each day until I started seeing a loss on my scale. At least something. What this means is that contentment is going to be a bigger issue for us. I had to understand and accept this and learn to live with what I've been allowed to eat based on my God-given height. I know, it doesn't seem fair, but that's reality. The third issue is the weight loss advice to increase cardio, lower calories. This combination is counterproductive in my experience. First of all, when I started increasing cardio intensity over 50, I noticed that I would get these huge cortisol spikes during my workout. That felt like a pit of anxiety in my stomach, usually at the end of my workout. In addition, what actually works better at our age is increasing weightlifting because we need the extra muscle to burn the calories. This helps offset the fact that our calories have to stay so low, which means if we increase our muscle over time, we can actually eat a little bit more and still lose or maintain. As petite women, we start off with less muscle than taller women, and then you add on menopause and the onset of decreasing muscle year over year, and it just gets harder and harder. It doesn't take much muscle building. I only get to the gym once per week, but I have a preset plan that I follow each time. I try to focus on compound movements. Those include standing barbell raises, assisted pull-ups on a pull-up machine, and sitting leg presses. These three exercises hit just about every muscle group you need and in the most effective way. I aim for about 3 sets of 12 repetitions for each exercise. As you get stronger, you can move the weight up a little bit to keep them around the 12 reps, which seems to work well. If you have the time and you really want to build a good foundation, you can increase to 3 times per week. I've been lifting for about 30 years now, so I already have a pretty good amount of muscle, and so now I'm just able to maintain what I have. Number 4, probably one of the most annoying challenges of turning 50 is the increase in our belly fat. Most of my life, I had a pretty small waist naturally, but when I turned 45, I really started to notice the shift. In fact, I remember seeing a picture of myself at my daughter's dance recital and was shocked at how big my belly had gotten. I really thought, that can't be me. It's amazing how eye-opening seeing a picture of yourself can be. But the reality was I was becoming insulin resistant. In fact, in 2017, I did some blood work, and for the first time ever, I learned that I was pre-diabetic. Now, obviously, having a high amount of belly fat, no matter your age or height, is very unhealthy. But it is especially unhelpful if you're short. The reason is there isn't as much space from the top to the bottom to absorb it. Even only a few pounds is going to show up more pronounced and cause us to go up a size in clothing. Not to mention, the clothes just aren't going to look like we'd like. That hourglass figure disappears more quickly on short women. And while it's true that it's not just about being thin for superficial reasons, we all like to feel good in our clothing. But say that you're someone that doesn't really care about appearance. The reality is that belly fat is a sign of declining health outcomes. One of the things I had to do to counteract this additional belly fat was lowering my calories and decreasing my daily carb counts. My daughter still tells me all the time how shocked she is that I feel so good without eating carbohydrates. But I think this is probably a testament to the fact that we may just not need them as much anymore. In fact, I usually feel worse when I bring them in for a meal. I get headaches, severe dry mouth, I wake up with puffy eyes, my night sweats come back. And what's really weird is how disappointing the food usually tastes. It just doesn't taste as good anymore. The low-carb whole foods that I eat now just taste so much better, and they make me feel so much better. Finally, I have to address eating, quote, healthy or clean and eating more protein. The reality is eating salads and lean chicken breast will give you incredible weight loss. That is, if you could actually sustain it. But most people can't, and that is why everyone falls off those plans within a couple of days or less. The solution is you have to find foods that you love to eat combined with a proper calorie deficit. That's what I did from the very beginning to lose 45 pounds. I started from a food list of items and experimented to find what I really enjoyed the most. And even though it's boring to eat the same thing all the time, it works. It keeps things simple, and I always know I'm not overeating. I eat breakfast almost every day and night, consisting of a combination of eggs cooked different ways, sausage, cheese. I eat hamburgers and chicken primarily for lunch. And then I have a few extra items that I bring in here or there for variety. Oh, and just an FYI, I made an entire food list of those, and I have a link down in the description where you can grab that if you want. But that was key for me, finding those foods because I always look forward to having them. Now, in regards to protein, the standard advice is to have zero point 0.8 to 1 gram of protein multiplied by your weight in pounds up to 120 grams. For me, the math just wasn't mathin'. If I tried to eat that much protein, one, I couldn't lose weight because my calories would go over my daily allotment at 5'2", and two, I didn't have room for much of anything else. So my peak is 90 grams of protein, and that's if I do straight egg whites instead of whole eggs twice a day. Most of the time, I get around 60 to 70 grams, and I find that's the perfect balance. But the point isn't about getting in enough protein. Try to get in as much as you reasonably can. But ultimately, keeping your calories and carbs at a low enough point for your height are the most important weight loss levers. Now, there is some good news if you're petite. Since additional weight shows up more easily on our bodies, losing a small amount of weight also shows up more quickly as well. So a 5-pound weight loss on our frame is huge. And with these tips I've just given you, you have what you need to get started. So if you want more detailed information on how I lost 45 pounds over 50 years old when nothing else worked, I'm going to put that video right here in the end screen. I hope you enjoy it.